Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we like. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today we are talking about Bridgerton, Season 3, Part 2, Episodes 5 through 8. So we get to finally know what happens after the carriage scene.
Wow, 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 wow.
Wow, chicka, wow, wow.
But before we get any further, I have to do our disclaimer. We are crass. We are unhinged. We are not at all ladylike. So we're going to swear. We're going to talk about the bedroom activities. And you've been warned. So there you go.
Yeah. Quit watching this smutty show if you can't handle the heat. Get out of the kitchen.
There was heat.
There could have been more.
But no, there could have been more. And also, sexy kitchen time is also up my alley. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not eating at your house anymore.
But before we talk about Bridgerton, I got to ask you what you guys have been up to. I haven't seen you in a minute. What are things that are happening?
Well, among binging the remainder of Bridgerton, I also binged the fuck out of Leather and Lark.
Same here.
Ooh!
I have not yet.
I had a good time. I had a spicy time. I almost had a near miss where somebody like almost walked in on me listening to it. So that's
you
what
put
I've
that
been
on
doing.
our TikTok, and I was on vacation when I saw that TikTok and went, "Oh, Wiggles, no!"
Listen, I was supposed to be alone in the office. Anyway,
Moral of the story, do not listen to your romance books out loud. Headphones.
ever apparently.
Unless you're in your own apartment.
I wouldn't even trust that.
No, that's when like the repair guy has to come in and you're like, do you really have to be here? And he's like, yeah, there's like a leak in the apartment above or some shit like that. Because that's how it works.
Yeah.
It also sounds like the start of a bad porno.
Yeah.
2 thumbs way, way up. Listen to it. Read it. Do whatever you want. But, the guy is on TikTok.
He is on TikTok and he's
playing dangerous games.
I don't know.
Quit playing games with my heart. You know what I'm saying?
I also listened to Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver and had a great time. But I listened to it in like 2 days.
Yeah.
So I need to re-listen to it because if you ask me, hey Liz, what happened? I'd be like, I don't know. Who's to say?
It was a roller coaster. That's all I know. Time to get back on that ride.
God damn it. And then I also listened to the audiobook for Just for Summer by Abby Jimenez. Also a good time. A very different type of good time.
Wow.
No murder. Not as nearly enough sex. But a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 4 to a 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, and I left these two for a vacation and chilled at the lake for a week. I did read a book called Matched to the Minotaur. It's the first book in the Matchmaker Monster Romance series, and it's by Luna Joya. I really liked it. It was like a 3.5. It was a good time. Very interesting. You girls would like the main character in it because she's like a nerd who likes to make games and then is cast into a world of a minotaur.
Wait, she basically Jumanjis herself into like minotaur sex?
She doesn't Jumanji herself. She gets tricked by a like demon matchmaker.
That actually sounds fun.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's all fun and games until you got to face down that minotaur dick, though.
I mean,
That's where the fun and games really begin.
it sounded real
That's
fun.
how you die.
There was a lot of magic involved, and yeah, it was really good.
All right. On to Bridgerton.
Yes.
Yeah. So just like a quick catch up of part 1. If you've somehow stumbled into listening to this and you haven't watched part 1, go do that.
Yeah, I don't
What are you
really
doing?
know what you're doing here, but
Yeah.
I like that you're here.
I mean, we're happy you're here, but
Yeah.
dude.
But real quick, Penelope's like, it's my turn to glow up, and does. Colin comes back from whatever weird trip he's been on and is like, what if I was a sly devil and I was like winking at all the ladies? And then Penelope finds herself in a position where she's like trying to get a husband, but she doesn't know what she's doing. So she's like, Colin, help? And he's like, sure. And then she like asks him to kiss her, and then he's like, whoa, feelings, what a wild time we're having. And then she almost gets squashed by a balloon. So, that's what you missed on Bridgerton Part 1.
And the carriage scene.
That was so fast and succinct. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks. Yeah. Liz?
What?
I'm antagonistic tonight. Watch out.
Let's jump right into it and talk right about the big moment that happens at the top of this Part 2, the engagement. They're engaged now.
Underwhelming.
Right?
Like, okay, here's the thing. One of the complaints we had in the first part was that they've cut out and detached Penelope from the Bridgerton family, while simultaneously she's saying, like, the place I felt safest is, like, with the Bridgertons. And, like, what a fucking waste. And, like, everybody's, like, really nice and congratulatory, but, like, nothing about it felt any more impactful than if you were like, hey, I just got a promotion at work. Yay! You know what I mean?
I guess I felt a little bit more to me, but it certainly felt a little bit out of the blue.
Yeah.
Right? I think one of the things that they failed over all of Bridgerton, all of the seasons, is to really build up their friendship, because they know it's coming. They know Penelope and Colin are coming. We have Penelope and Colin since season 1. Give us more moments.
Well, they should have given us more moments with the family as opposed to Penelope and Colin, because we definitely got the Penelope and Colin moments, and I loved those moments. But she's supposed to be incredibly close with everybody in the family. Like, she's very close with Anthony. She's very close with Violet, is like her biggest cheerleader.
Right.
And I did feel in that moment that Violet was very pleased. She was very excited. It did very much show the difference in her excitement for the engagement for Penelope and Colin versus Francesca's engagement.
True.
It does highlight the big difference in her thought process on that one, which I liked because it definitely needed to be shown, and Francesca definitely felt it, even though she was also reveling in the excitement over Colin and Penelope being engaged. But it definitely highlighted the difference between Violet's thought process on the relationships.
I guess I wish they would have just built it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it felt very like them just telling us that Penelope is pining after him. And we do get plenty of moments where she's pining. But we get like only a handful of moments where Colin realizes that he likes her too. And I wanted a little bit more build up.
It was still my favorite Uno reverse, where I was like, oh, she's dreaming when they're making out in the dream and whatever. And there's the mist, and then they wake up, but it's Colin. I was like, oh, sir.
Well, so I have a lot of gripes, honestly, about this season, and I couldn't like put my finger on what the biggest thing was. And what I eventually came back to, I was like, oh shit! Like, at every opportunity that they had to make this as good as the previous 2 seasons, they chose the cheaper option. And so, an example of where I finally like put 2 and 2 together was someone I follow on TikTok called their channel's called The Cool Table, mentioned, and it like after I heard it, I was like, boom, oh, this is exactly one of the problems I have with all of the other seasons of Bridgerton, including Queen Charlotte. We get flashbacks. We get more insight to who these characters are, and we needed that for Colin and Penelope, because instead of them telling us this story about them first meeting and him falling off his horse and all of that, like, we needed to know that. Like, we needed to see where she fell in love with him, that it wasn't just a crush, that it wasn't just an obsession, right? And we also needed a moment where, like, Colin went back and considered all the interactions that they had prior. And was like, oh, so, I am kind of an idiot. Like, I have been in love with you for a really long time. I just didn't understand that was what I was feeling.
Absolutely. Now that you say that, I'm like, God, I would have loved to see like a little Colin and little Penelope with her just like making fun of him.
but that would cost more money, right?
Or-
that would cost having to hire 2 more actors.
Yeah.
And maybe even having to hire younger versions of Anthony and Daphne and in order to have some of those moments. And so they had to choose the cheaper option. And I also noticed that with Anthony and Kate, I did not enjoy their presence, especially in the second half. I wanted to see more scenes with them, but I didn't enjoy how it was done, because the only time that they're really there may be 2, maybe 3 times where they are not just one-on-one.
Yeah, they're not just together.
Or if they are not just one-on-one, they're in a quick flash of a party scene.
Sure.
Where are they actually mingling with a lot of people, or is it just them and 2 other characters and they're at the party, right? And so they made the cheaper choice of having limited recording days and only bringing them in for a certain amount of time, which I get, but I think it negatively impacted their presence there. Why are they constantly jet setting off to somewhere else? Or why, and the reason I bring Anthony and Kate up, why did they have to detract from Colin and Penelope announcing their engagement with, at that precise moment, Anthony and Kate are like, I want to announce our pregnancy.
Yeah.
Well, especially because honestly, there was no reason for them to talk about the pregnancy until the last couple of episodes when they finally announced it and then decided they were going to India. Yeah. They didn't have to do this whole let's not tell anybody yet thing. That didn't do anything.
It was filler.
Yeah.
It was fucking filler. And that was so infuriating to me when we're sitting here going, I needed more Colin and Penelope. Yes. And I needed more, honestly, I needed more of the Queen. She was barely in it this season.
One could argue they may have done that a little bit because in the time span of reality for that time span, Queen Charlotte is ending her life.
Soon.
She is reaching the end of her life at this point.
Sure.
Because with the show Queen Charlotte, I don't remember, was her granddaughter actually born, or they announced Victoria's pregnant. They're pregnant with Victoria. So, and if I remember right, Queen Charlotte, the real Queen Charlotte, didn't live to see Victoria actually born. So in reality, there is not much longer where Queen Charlotte would be alive.
I suppose, but I feel like they could have done it better then.
Absolutely. They also could have made it more convincing that she maybe is starting to slow up, or there's maybe they could have showed signs that maybe something is starting to become wrong with Queen Charlotte.
Also, while I was missing Queen Charlotte, I was missing the servants.
Yeah.
When I was trying to figure out why I didn't like the season so much, I went back and I watched season 1, because when I first watched that season, I was like, holy shit. One of the things that I was missing is we have these really bright characters among the servants. They're not just background characters. They play a part in how the plot plays out. And especially for us to have so little of Barley, I was incensed, if I'm being completely honest, because she played a bigger role in Daphne's season than fucking Penelope's.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I fucking love her.
Yes.
God, she's so fucking funny.
I think what they tried to do is they tried to put too many big plot lines into this season. And I have to be honest with you. I know it's Penelope and Colin's season. I liked Francesca and Kilmartin's story better than Penelope and Colin's.
I really did too.
Well, and I think that's because of how they edited it, if I'm being completely honest, because they made it feel like Colin and Penelope didn't have chemistry.
Yeah.
Which is insane when we had that carriage scene at the end of the first set of episodes where the chemistry was off the fucking charts.
Well, and even the one sex scene we do get is hot.
It is.
Yeah.
But it also happens in episode 5, and then we don't get anything more
until the very last episode.
We get one little tiny
thing.
clip that's just thrown in there.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I read, because I've been sort of just trying to figure out where the fuck did this go wrong, right? Who was making these choices where they suddenly diverge from the clear direction that the other seasons have had, is that Penelope and Colin, the actors who played them, Luke Newton and
Nicola Coughlan,
yes, have both said that, gone on record saying that this was going to be the sexiest season of Bridgerton. So then when I found out that they cut those scenes but made us watch filler of Kate and Anthony talking about whether or not they should announce their pregnancy, I was so fucking furious.
Well, that's the part that I was confused about, because the two actors were constantly saying like, this is so steamy, this is the sexiest, and they talk a lot in their interviews about the sex scenes. And it's like, the two we had were good, don't get me wrong, and the one in episode 5 lasted a long time.
And the top tier nudity, like I don't think the other ones showed as much.
Well, Nicola Coughlan actually chose to show as much as she did. Well, that was her choice.
She's got a hot body, so I get it.
I think in one interview she said that she wanted to be able to, when she's like way older, look back at that moment and be like, damn, look at me. And I'm like, damn, look at you.
I will say, so in their interviews together, those two have chemistry on their own.
That's the other thing.
They're
the
so
two
good
actors
together.
have more chemistry than the on-screen characters do.
Right. And that has to be a bad edit.
Oh, yeah.
It has to just be a bad edit, which makes me mad because, like, I'm sorry. If I put in all that time doing all them sex scenes, which is not easy.
No.
Ooh.
And then it just doesn't fucking show up, I'd be so furious.
Especially when you know that that's what your audience wants. And it's not that we're here because we're like wanting to watch softcore porn.
No.
We're here because we want to watch those super tender, intimate moments that like ride the line between like sensual and sexual.
Yes. Well, another great thing that Nicola has done is she was asked in an interview, and I've watched her response like probably 10 times because I think it's so great. But they were like, "It's so brave of you to like do a part like this," and she's like, "You're right, it is really brave. There isn't a lot of great representation for women like me, women with perfect breasts on screen."
Yeah, I saw that on TikTok and was like, Nicola, I love you so much for that.
Look, she's not wrong.
She
does
wrong.
have great
she
titties.
Has fantastic titties, and those period costumes.
Yeah, can I just say, whoever did her costume, hair, and makeup design, like, and just the lighting of the scenes, like, they made her so romantic. I was like, woman,
she looked
oh
so
my God.
soft and supple. I was like,
But just like the way that they did like her hair and like some of the like different lighting that they gave her, I was just like, what is happening to me right now?
I liked a lot of what they did to really like showcase her beauty.
Yes.
What I had a huge objection to was some of the choices they made with her costumes.
Really? I liked her costume.
I liked some of them. Some of them were insane. Like, Bridgerton has lost the fucking plot of what decade they're fucking in.
Oh, well, yeah.
Like, her wedding dress looked like it came straight out of the 1930s or 40s.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing I didn't understand.
I was very disappointed in her wedding dress.
Gorgeous. I want to be clear. It was beautiful. Didn't fucking make sense with anything else.
Well, I actually liked Francesca's better. Like, Francesca's dress, I was like, that's the wedding dress you're supposed to wear.
The feathers on Penelope's confused me.
Well, I had a problem with the silhouette. And I noticed she started wearing a silhouette not dissimilar to Lady Featherington.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was weird to have Lady Featherington in that, but also she's a weird lady, so it was acceptable. Penelope's not. And you have all these other gowns where you've shown that she can look fucking hot in that silhouette if done right. So why change it up and put her in a silhouette that would not have been popular in that time period? Why? But also the costumes just this season were insane. They're insane. I'm sorry. They've so missed the mark so many times that the background characters make more sense than the main characters do.
Yeah, it's hard, I would imagine, to ride the line between historical and historical fantasy. And this is historical fantasy, not in the sense that like magic, but in the sense that it's not realistic. But I could not get past Cressida's outfits.
Well, like I said, I went back and I watched season 1. Cressida's outfits were not that insane.
Her hair was always insane. Right?
Her hair was always insane, but even not to that level that it was this season. Like, her hair was like at one point growing its own legs, I swear to God, in this season.
Yeah.
And in the first season, she had weird decorations, but not that far off from what everybody else was doing. And so it was like, she stood out as being like, wow, she doesn't have good taste.
Sure.
Not, wow, she doesn't fit in with the rest of the story the way she did this season. And like, why were her sleeves growing?
I don't know what was happening.
I don't know what was happening with her sleeves. Her hair always makes me think that she was trying to pull a Queen Charlotte. But here's the thing. If you're going to do it, you need to go for it. And
you need a wig.
Well,
you need
yes.
a wig, yes. And you can really only do it and get away with it if you are Queen Charlotte. She has the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, nobody's gonna fucking argue with you about that.
Right.
She's the goddamn queen.
Right. So yeah, I did have a lot of gripes. I felt like the costumes were somehow worse in the second half, but also it felt like, and this is another example of where I feel like they made the cheaper or more financially lucrative for Netflix choice in doing this separation. It's really clear that the reason that they did it was because they didn't want people to subscribe to Netflix for 1 month, watch Bridgerton, and then unsubscribe. Right? They wanted to milk it for all it's worth. I get it. Right, but it also changed the flow of the story. They had to create 2 finishes, right? And so they felt detached from each other. Part 1, if you watch them sequentially all the way through the season, they don't feel like one cohesive season. They feel like 2 separate seasons.
They do, yeah. The other thing that pissed me off is the fact that Daphne was never there.
That angered me because I'm like, you're telling me that Daphne wouldn't have been at 2 of her siblings' weddings?
And I know Simon, the Duke, the actor whose name I can't remember, I know he didn't want to be in season 2 and that's why he wasn't. But it's felt so strange to me that Daphne was in season 2 without the Duke. And then she wasn't in season 3. Even for the weddings. If she had come back for nothing else but the weddings, I would have been like, I get it.
Yeah. She has multiple kids at this point in the books and everything. So like I understand you can't just fuck off all the time. Although admittedly she's super rich and there's nannies. But
or at the very least, reference her.
Yeah.
You know, at the
they
very
didn't even
least,
mention her.
Have her write a letter that says, I'm sorry we're in blah, 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 blah country, but congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, it was weird that Anthony and Kate would suddenly decide that they're going to go off on this trip to India before Francesca gets married.
Yeah.
Also, yes.
Like, why? And the answer is they made the cheaper choice.
Yeah.
Well, especially when they were there only like a couple weeks earlier.
Well, and they were asking for a special license to do a really small wedding and everything, so it wouldn't have been that long until they got married.
I just can't get over the fact that there were just, again, so many big plot lines they were trying to shove in. And the thing is I didn't dislike any of them. But if you only have 8 episodes to get across 2 love stories, because it is 2 love stories, how the fuck are you also doing all of Eloise's stuff, which granted was melded into Penelope and Whistledown? You're doing Benedict's by Awakening, and you're doing the Mondriches. Why were we spending so much fucking time on the Mondriches?
For no payoff.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If we, like, at the end, there was some, like, realization of, like, oh, I don't know if I'm comfortable with us being in this elevated position, or we're going to defy the queen and we're not going to take this, or something. Like, or it doesn't have to be any of that, but, like, just something where it's, like...
something for a reason for this to be important.
Right. Otherwise, it could have been trailed off and left in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mondrich can show up at different parties and things like that. But, like, it doesn't make sense unless you recognize it for what it is, which is fucking filler.
Yeah.
Which, why did we need filler? And so a lot of the discourse I've seen online is a lot of discontent with the showrunner, in the belief that because I don't know how strongly I feel that this is the reason why, but a lot of people are like, a skinny girl was never going to understand why plus size girls or why anybody wanted to have Penelope's season be amazing. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that they're right. I don't really know. I haven't looked into her that much, but she admitted to choosing Give Me Everything Tonight for the carriage scene on a fucking whim in an interview. Like, that was a weird flex to make, and she said that that's what made the scene.
No.
And it's just like, girl, no. Like, honestly, I had a moment of like, I recognize the song, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I didn't even pay attention to the song. I was like, oh, Penelope.
Yeah,
I
it was only when I watched it like the second time that I was like, oh, that's what that song is.
Well, there's also the intrigue with Whistledown, and then there's the deal with her sisters and her mother, and there's just so much stuffed into this. This arguably could have been the most interesting season with the stuff with Whistledown and everything, and it felt cheated a little bit.
Well, and then we also
Very.
have the whole Lord Anderson thing, which, again, I'm not upset about any of these plot lines. I'm upset that we did 10 of them in 8 episodes.
Yeah.
When really we should have just done Penelope and Colin, Penelope and Eloise, and then Francesca and John. And I understand that we have to do Francesca and John before Francesca's season because of what happens.
We have to build up to and show that she got married previously.
But that could have been much more of a background thing
Mhm.
because that's what it is in the books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, honestly, I fell in love with Lord Kilmartin a little bit.
I know. I'm going to be devastated.
And maybe that's what they're trying to do is rip our heart apart. And I'm so sorry we did not say this is a spoiler for the rest of the seasons or the rest of the books. But when John has to pass away, I'm going to be really sad because
That's going to hurt me. I love him.
because he actually had some of the more romantic moments than Colin did.
Well, Colin should fundamentally understand who Penelope is. Like,
Yeah.
even if he's wholly confused at how she's been living this double life as Whistledown, he still knows who she is at her core. But instead, I found myself thinking that Kilmartin, for how little amount of time that he's known Francesca, knows her better than Colin knows Penelope.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is exactly that, because one of my favorite lines is when they're walking on the promenade and she's talking about how like she grew up learning the pianoforte, and she's like, yeah, my sister or Anthony hid my piano bench, and she's like, I sure hope my husband doesn't one day, and he's like, I won't. My whole heart was just like,
I know. My heart went pitter patter. I'm like,
just out of nowhere.
And the having the music rewritten for her.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
that was
God.
the most romantic thing that happened the entire season.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
My heart went pitter patter when that happened. I'm like, John,
Oh, and then
we don't deserve you.
And then when he wants to dance with her and she's like, we don't dance. And he's like, we have to be more bold. And I'm like, John.
Oh my God. I was like, oh.
Oh, and then the speech that he does at their wedding. I'm like, Colin, you need to be taking notes.
Right? And that's the insane thing about it is like, by all rights, Colin should be able to do this with his eyes closed.
Mhm.
And he's not. And I want to be clear. I don't lay this blame at the feet of Luke Newton or Nicola. Like, it just, they did amazing with what they were given, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I think that they were given bad at it, and I think that they were at some points given a bad script, because again, I went back and I rewatched the other seasons, and when I complained about part 1 about I want to be more than friends, which is a
Yeah.
phrase that doesn't fucking make sense in the context of that time period. It doesn't.
Mhm.
You're either one of 3 things as a woman. You are a single eligible lady, you are a wife, you are a mistress. Those are it. Those are the only ways you
Yeah.
can be related in context with another eligible man. And so I want to be more than friends. What the fuck? And the reason it bothers me so much is like, we had this beautiful scene between Simon and Daphne with the I burn for you, right? You don't have to change the language for people to appreciate it. You don't have to, you don't have to dumb it down.
That still gives me heart palpitations.
Did we get an I burn for you? The best you could say is the carriage scene, and it didn't live up to that linguistically.
I mean, there was a couple of things. I think there wasn't like single lines, but there were times where Colin was talking about, like, at the very end when he's saying, see, this is the problem, is it was a whole speech and I can't recite a whole speech, but he's basically saying things like he was trying to,
Separate her from Whistledown?
right, and then he learned or understands that they are the same and she is this great amazing person, and if what his goal or aim to be in life is just to be her husband, then he will be happy. Or I'm paraphrasing it terribly, but I thought that was a really beautiful speech.
It was. I appreciated that, one, this was just a little like sneaky peek into Colin too, a little bit, that I actually kind of appreciated, is that he was looking through his desk and all of her letters from when he was traveling were tied up together.
Yeah, that would have been great if they would have leaned into that a bit more.
I feel like they should have leaned into it more, but it was just, there was a little sneaky peek that I was like, oh, Colin, you obviously cared enough and didn't realize it, because he didn't have anybody else's letters from when he was traveling, but he has years of him traveling for an extended period of time every year, and has. And so for years now, she has been writing to him, and he's got all of those letters tied up in bundles together.
Which, oh my gosh, you could totally rewrite that to be so much bigger by having pull those letters out about when, I don't know, Eloise or Benedict, because Benedict's great at antagonizing people, right? Is there, and it's like, why do you have where's all of my letters that I wrote you, or all of Eloise's letters? And he's like, I don't know. It's like, why do you have just Penelope's letters all together, Colin?
Here's my gripe with it. Why the fuck are we being subtle?
Yeah.
Like, to what end? You've never done that with any of the other couples, especially not at the point where they are agreed to be married. So who are you serving? Like, ooh, I gotta go treasure hunting for scraps of what Penelope and Colin's relationship is? Eat my ass.
Yeah.
No.
I will say one of the things that I did like that was probably very out of character for the time period was during the sex scene when Penelope is like, tell me what to do. And Colin says, no, I'll just do it. And she's like, no, tell me what to do. I thought that was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I liked showcasing Penelope's confidence coming out in other ways, including sexually.
Well, also it shows her need, due to the fact that she reads so much, she writes so much, her need to understand what's happening before it happens.
Yeah.
And so her needing him to tell her what she needs to do and what he's going to do is also shows a part of her character in that she needs to know these things.
Well, and it also comes through later, right? Like the big thing with Colin up until this season is he always wants to fix problems, right? He wants to be the hero, the knight in shining armor with Marina, and then with the Lord Featherington cousin that he like helped stop the scheme of he wants to come in and save the day. And the one person he can't save the day for is Penelope because she's her own hero. And she realizes that, and eventually, no matter how many times he says, I don't know what good I am to you, and she says, just love me. He finally realizes that like she doesn't need him to be this great protector, but she needs him to be a companion.
And in some ways, I think that's a relief for him not to have to be that person.
Well, it's also a reflection of masculinity even today.
And true.
Yes.
We haven't talked about this much, but Cressida blackmails Penelope.
I fucking hated that plot line.
I
But
did
anyway, continue.
I did too.
To be fair, that is in the plot of the book.
I didn't like it.
Fair enough.
She blackmails Penelope, and because the queen is offering a 5,000 pound reward for anybody who can give information on Mask Whistledown, essentially. Cressida says that she'll need 10,000 to keep her secret. And Colin, Penelope, and Eloise are arguing about this, what to do and everything. And Penelope's like, well, no, I think I should just pay her. And Colin's like, well, I can see if I can get the money, but I think I should go talk to her. And she's like, no, Colin, I can pay her. And the look on his face, he's like, wait, what? It's 10,000 pounds. 10,000 pounds is, I mean, it's not considered a vast, fortune today. But that was fuck you money back then.
Well, actually, I saw on the TikToks that somebody did the calculation. 5,000 pounds is approximately $500,000.
Yep.
Penelope had squirreled away $1 million fucking dollars.
In the book, the way that plays out is just slightly different, and I kind of like the book version better. So the first time she publishes, it's because I think it was her father's solicitor or something like that saw her writings and was like, this is good shit. And so he helped her come up with the plot of like giving the first few out free and then being like, now you're hooked. And so he helped her manage her finances for all these years, because in the book it's been a lot longer. It hasn't been like 3 seasons. It's been a long time. And so before he passed, the whole like, oh, we came into this money from my great aunt, from Mrs. Featherington, that's done a little bit different. That isn't her covering up for her scheme with this Featherington cousin. That is Penelope having this solicitor tell her mom that that's where this money is coming from. She's intentionally giving her money to the family and then not being able to use it because her mom won't let her use it to buy whatever she wants. And it's a really great plot, honestly. And it's like this tiny little bit of the book. And so I was kind of bummed. I understand why they made that choice, but it was really fun to read in the book.
I just wanted to circle back to the Cressida plot line of her blackmailing Penelope, because the reason that I didn't like it is kind of what you were saying about part 1 and part 2 of this season feeling so different. And I understand that they were trying to build up her desperation in part 1 so that when we get to part 2, she like will do anything to get out of marrying the old geezer. But it just felt like in part 1, they were trying to build her up to be redeemable, and not necessarily like she's gonna be my favorite character redeemable, but like, okay, she is not totally evil.
You thought they were going to build it up to be like, okay, I understand the reasoning behind her behavior a little bit. Not that it's not asshole behavior, but, you know, you understand it a bit more, and then they fucked it again.
Well, I mean, I still understood her behavior in part 2. I completely understand it, but they gave me hope that this character would have. Honestly, where the fuck was Lord Debling? Why did he disappear? And also, why couldn't Cressida just marry him?
I really kind of wanted Cressida to just marry Lord Debling and get away, because she had been doing a little bit of a redemption. I was liking the redemption. I never thought she was going to be my bestest bosom buddy. She's always going to be a little bit of an asshole. But, like, I also, given the views into her life, I understood the assholiness. I just wanted her to marry Lord Debling and get away, and then she could be a little independent.
That's exactly what we talked about when we were talking about part 1. She would have been the perfect for Lord Debling because she could totally just do whatever she wanted while he was off on his fucking excursions.
Run his household.
And then when he comes back, they probably would have like a, I don't know, amicable friendship.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see them falling in love, but I saw them being like, this works for us.
Well, and he didn't want love.
He straight up said he didn't want love.
Well, okay, so this is something I've noticed about Bridgerton overall that I don't like, is that they introduce these other options, shall we say, for whoever is the lady of the year. And then that other option, when she finally is like, I'm definitely going with this one, just fucks off and it never comes back. They don't exist anymore, right? So like for Daphne, it was the prince. For Kate, it was whoever that guy she was in the like boat ride with.
Oh, yeah.
Was like, actually, I've been to India and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we have Lord Debling, and it's like, but why? He wouldn't just be like, well, I've chosen not to propose to Penelope, so bye. That doesn't make any sense.
Especially for the time period. He was actively looking for a wife.
Right.
Well, and especially because we hadn't seen him in any seasons up to this point, and he even said that he specifically came back to get a wife.
Right.
And also, where was the Marquess? Whatever. Francesca's other option.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Marquess just
We're still in the season. These people would still be there.
Right. And they're like, I guess I don't need to be in London anymore because this one person I kind of went after, I'm done with that. What? Like, well, if you're going to introduce these characters, finish their plot too.
It's not like Lord Debling got rejected. He rejected her. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's like, I'm humiliated now. I need to run away. You rejected her. Right. You would still be there looking for a fucking spouse.
Yes.
Well, and Cressida was also like essentially his second option the entire time anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they had multiple conversations. They had dances and stuff. Why wouldn't he, if he was so desperate, not desperate, but like he desired to get a wife, why wouldn't he go, well, that situation sucked. Maybe I'll like hang back a little bit and then come back and go, hey, Miss Cowper.
Well, he's going to be gone for 3 fucking years too. So it's not like he can just be like, hey, I'll get him next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he needs to get it figured out now.
Also, just like the way that they have established the character dynamic is that a lot of times all of these guys are courting different women all at the same time. This is not new. Cressida would not be like, oh, well, you almost proposed to Penelope, so I'm out.
Yeah, no. And she wasn't up until that, the night that Penelope confessed that she's awkward and hates, doesn't like the outdoors and all that shit. Cressida had been like at it until he wasn't paying attention to her anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and they even have that dance where Cressida like accidentally reveals that Colin and Penelope are like kind of too close.
Yeah.
And I guess what I read is that they chose not to like actually marry Cressida off so that it's open for her to be in season 4. I'm like, you can have her in season 4 and be married.
Yeah.
She can still be a pain in the ass. Go check out all those mamas. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Especially if she married Lord Debling and he is away, then she would have all of the freedom in the world to be whatever problematic character she wanted to be.
She could enact vengeance.
Yes.
And here's the thing that I don't know that this was their intention, but it is the fucking outcome. Cressida's plotline didn't make me hate Cressida. It made me hate Eloise.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking hated her by the end of that season. I'm like, so you spent all this time with Cressida and you did the exact same thing that you did to Penelope to her, where
Yeah.
you made everything a fucking about you. You couldn't listen to somebody else talk about their own problems and issues. And then you fucking abandoned her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eat shit, Eloise.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing. I was Team Eloise all the fucking way until this season.
Right.
Well, and they immediately, as soon as Cressida comes out as Lady Whistledown, Eloise goes, holy shit, she's gonna hurt the Bridgertons, and runs back to Penelope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You are the one person, Eloise, who could solve all of the problems by literally grabbing Penelope and Cressida and going into a room and saying, we three are going to figure this out together for the best of all three of us.
Right.
Instead, she, like you said, immediately turned on Cressida and then went crawling back to Penelope. And if I was Penelope, I would have been like,
Nah, man.
nah.
Well, here's the thing. If Cressida had really thought about it, when she figured out that Penelope was Whistledown, if she had gone and apologized and said, here's the thing, this is what's happening, I'm scared.
Right.
Penelope could have done something for her.
Yes.
But I will say the one thing to Cressida, though, is, and we get that tiny little moment when she's talking to her mom, is her mom is saying and telling her, haven't I taught you that everyone is out for themselves, especially women?
Yeah.
So
And-
Cressida
And
had...
Eloise proves that true.
Exactly. Cressida got taught, and then by Eloise's actions, and probably a lot of other people, but in this season, Eloise's actions, that she can only rely on herself.
I just fully believe that if Cressida had actually gone to Penelope and been like, this is what's happening and I'm scared, because you get that moment where she's talking to her mom. It was a very vulnerable moment for Cressida, and my heart broke for her in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
When she looks at her mom and she's like, I'm so scared. And I'm like, oh, honey, I get it. Like, that actually made me cry for her. And like, I was angry at her, sure, because she's being a dickbag, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
She's been rejected for 3 seasons now,
Mm-hmm.
and her father's being an asshole and trying to marry her to some like fucking 80-year-old guy who's talking about putting babies in her. Ew.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Well, also, the thing about Cressida's storyline is it so breaks the fantasy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It puts you back into reality in the same way Marina's does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm sure, done very intentionally, but you still need to do it well.
Yeah.
I mean, Cressida was, after Francesca, Cressida was the one that I wanted the most to have a happy ending.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
she, to me, was the most sympathetic character.
Mhm.
Yes. And I saw a picture and I think it was a tweet that was like, oh, they put so much detail into the show, and talked about like the last time we see Cressida is she has a lock in her hair, like in her like elaborate hair design, and or a cage or something like that, and her mom has a key in her hair. And I'm like,
Okay.
and like I guess originally the plot line was that her mom, at the last second, we're gonna see Cressida like get into this carriage and go off to be with this aunt, right? And her mom gets in at the last second and goes with her, and that her mom holds the key to Cressida breaking free of all this. Great. Okay, give us the like, why are you being so fucking subtle? To what end? This is not Marvel where I'm looking for fucking Easter eggs for the next movie.
Yeah.
Right.
These are books that are already out. All you can do is add on.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't like is the fact that we didn't get an ending for Cressida,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't see her go in a carriage and go to her aunt.
No.
It comes to threaten Penelope and tells Colin, like, you have until this ball or else I will come out with the information. And then that's it. There's just nothing more.
Penelope ruins it by getting in contact with the queen and being like, here's the thing. Hi.
Also, we never get to know what are in those fucking notes. That also pissed me off. She writes a letter to Lady Bridgerton before she comes out as Whistledown. Penelope does. And Colin references it and saying he's never seen his mom so quickly, like, proud or respectful or whatever. And I'm like, then show us the note. What did she write in the note?
I mean, she was just confessing, I guess, but
Apparently, it meant something.
Well, the reason they couldn't show you is because they didn't have anything to base it on. That's not how the plot plays out in the book. In the book, Colin arranges for this like outing of her as Whistledown. And so there's this whole thing where I think Daphne's having the ball. But like he gets the whole family involved in protecting her. And he keeps like emphasizing, especially to Hyacinth, that you're to stick to her like glue. and she has no idea what's going on, and then he's like, so I just got married, isn't that pretty cool? Did you know that my wife's a fucking badass and you all fucking love her? Did you know why? Because she's Whistledown.
I actually like Penelope confessing more, but
I like the idea of Penelope confessing more. I didn't like that we didn't get proof of Colin accepting her for who she is. We just got him telling her.
Yeah.
And I feel like they needed to do more to wrap that up. Like to be like, have him be like, oh, I'm like, let's talk about Whistledown. Let's talk about what you love about it. Let's talk about how you write it so well. How did you get so proficient at this? Like, how do you catch the gossip? Like, have them engaging with that conversation, because you can't tell me that conversation's not happening.
Oh yeah, especially because he likes writing too.
Right? Like, I'm sorry. If I found out that, let's say somebody was writing under a nom de plume, right? Among my friends, and I found out, oh, holy shit, this is you? I would ask so many questions, let alone the person I'm married to. I'd be like, motherfucker, tell me more.
The other thing from just like a logistical standpoint I didn't understand was, so when Cressida comes out and says she's Lady Whistledown, the queen is like, you have to prove it. You have to prove it. You have to prove it over and over and over again. But then she receives one letter from Penelope and goes, you cool. Like, what do you mean? More conversation, more proof.
Right.
Yeah, they needed to show more proof. Because I'm sure I completely understand, with given how proficient Penelope is at writing and everything. I have no doubt that she would be able to convince the queen that she actually is who she is. But you need to show us, because she's not going to take that at face value. Especially
because, like, anybody can write that note.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's one of the things this season falls victim to. For it being a television show, they really failed at the showing and used telling to like yada yada their way through everything.
Yeah. God, we're really ripping this apart.
I know.
I didn't here's the thing.
I didn't dislike it.
I want to be clear. At some point, we're going to transition to talking about the things that we like, because I did like a lot of it, but it felt like eating like chocolate cake, right? Chocolate cake, even if you're having not great chocolate cake, it's still like chocolate. So you're like, I can still like eat a little bit of this.
I hate chocolate cake, by the way.
All right. Let me use a different example. It's like drinking a beer. And unless you've got the worst fucking beer, it's going to still be beer.
Yeah.
Right? And and I was sitting here going, I'm having a really great beer the first two seasons. And I feel like by the time I got to this season, I was like, oh, it's really great beer, until I stopped to think about it. And I was like, I'm drinking a fucking Hams, aren't I?
You motherfuckers put Hams in my cup.
Yeah. Keystone.
I'm not drunk enough for this.
I'm not that drunk. Can't be having a fucking Keystone.
I do love that you're like, you're eating chocolate cake, and Liz and I are both sitting here over going, I hate chocolate cake.
And then you switched to beer, and I was just like, Danny also.
Yeah, Danny also.
I don't know why you guys don't like good things.
So I do want to move on to something that I really like. I want to talk about Penelope's sister's ball. That was so fucking cute.
It was. I also just in general liked having Philippa and Prudence be more prominent.
Absolutely. I also liked how the things that Penelope said to Portia, also the things that Colin said to Portia, did change her behavior a little bit on how things were going. And then she also worked to change Penelope's sister's behavior on how they were treating.
Mm-hmm. See, I liked that conceptually. I didn't like the execution of it because it felt fake to me.
I think that comes down to a bad edit.
I agree.
Because you can see the in moments where it was like really zoomed in and focused on that actor, you could see that they were genuine.
Mhm.
Right.
And so you knew enough to know that Portia is being genuine, but it still had that like aftertaste of like this feels like you're putting on another show,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I have said all along that while Portia is a bitch, I have never disliked her because, especially given the time period, she was being fucking realistic and trying to make sure that the women that she is responsible for taking care of are fucking realistic.
Well, I liked the conversation that she had with Penelope about like talking about what she did to take the money that Jack, the Lord Featherington, left behind, and her saying like, was there a better way? Maybe, but I didn't see it at the time. And then her telling Penelope, you know, maybe we are a lot more similar than we thought or than I realized. I thought that was really well done. And that was pretty much just acting. That was, I mean, yeah, the lines are written, of course, but I feel like that was super genuine.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked, you see the thought process in Portia when she realizes, because she raises concerns about Penelope and Colin, again, because she's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment when she realizes that it's a love match and it's not something she ever would have considered, not because she didn't think that Penelope was worthy of Colin or anything. She doesn't really believe in love matches because that's not what she had and that's not what she was taught.
And that's not what she expected to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I understand why she was being pragmatic while she is kind of a bitch in all of those situations. And the moment that she realizes, oh, he loves her and she actually loves him, like this is actually a thing, that's when she, she's like, I didn't get it. And I really liked that moment between them of, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I like that we get the same exact thing though from Violet with Francesca, and Violet realizing that because Francesca and Lord Kilmartin have a much like more subdued love match, instead of this like crazy thing like both Daphne and Antony had in their marriages.
Well, and that Violet had in her own.
Right. That she finally realizes, oh, no, this is Francesca and Lord Kilmartin are also just in love. They're just not having to fight for it or not being put in situations where they are fighting for it as much. It's just easy for them. And there's something so sweet about life and relationships kind of feeling easy.
Well, and they're also just both so much more subdued than the rest of the Bridgertons are. And so I think it's to a degree that Violet just doesn't quite understand her. Francesca very much has middle child issues in that, is that her family doesn't always understand her because she's not like the rest of them.
Oh, but I did love the writing that Francesca was starting to like stand up for herself and her relationship more and like coming out of her shell. Like further we got into part 2, it felt like she was like that her relationship with Lord Kilmartin gave her confidence.
I also, so another moment, it was kind of a sweet little kind of, moment is Philippa compliments Penelope on her wedding day and everything. And then her mother walks away and she's like, okay, you can tell me what you really think now. And she goes, that is what I really think. And I was like, oh.
That one's Prudence.
Oh, that was Prudence? Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. It's just thought you'd want to know.
Yeah. Prudence is like, that is what I really think. And I was like, oh.
I wasn't ever sure what they were trying to show with Prudence.
I have to assume that some of Prudence's story has been cut out too, because her marriage doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
No, it makes no sense.
Her husband is kind of obsessed with her, and she's like not into it, but her husband's cute, and like it's not really clear how they met or like when they got married, but it somehow happened between the previous season where she was still unmarried because she was going after the next Lord Featherington.
Yeah.
And this season. And so I don't know, like I just found myself like having so many more questions and wanting to know so much more about how we got here.
Yeah.
I did kind of like the direction that they were going in, but I feel like I'm missing half of the story.
I agree.
I agree. Because and she seems to warm up to him towards the end and everything. It's just, she never seems very happy with him, and he is obsessed with her. Like, man, I wish somebody would look at me that way. No, I don't. I'm a romantic and don't want that. But you know what I mean? Like, he genuinely loves her and wants to give her everything he absolutely can.
which I completely understand, like a one-sided love like that. And I can understand Philippa just being like, well, it's somebody to marry. Prudence.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I never remember which one's which.
I never remember which one's which either. I gotta remember that Philippa's is just kind of the sweet dum-dum.
Yeah. So I understand.
Penelope puts it, the dumbest person and the meanest person she's ever met. I love that description.
And that's why with Prudence, like, I didn't really understand her kind of coming around at the end. The only thing I could really blame it on or give credit to is the fact that, like, she's pregnant and hormonal.
Well, and that's what the show gives credit to.
Right.
Yeah. I think to a degree, so her mother has enabled this behavior for their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
She has allowed her to just be completely nasty to her younger sister.
Sisters. She's not
Sisters.
super nice to Philippa either.
No,
she's
Philippa
not.
just doesn't get it. And so I think she's allowed her to. Well, now she's turned around and been like, no, we're not doing this anymore. While I do agree to a degree that it is a little bit of it, I think it started out a little bit of an act that because Penelope is marrying so much better and we need to, give her respect and stuff. But I think after they had those conversations, it became a genuine, oh, I didn't realize that I made you feel this way, I think is kind of how she...
Yeah.
I don't think she realized what she was doing to Penelope all these years. Because again, all the times, as much as she is kind of a bitch through the thing, it's also, if seen through the lens of the time period, she's being very pragmatic and she really is trying to do what she believes is best for her daughters. And so I think when Portia goes, no, we're not doing this anymore, I think then she kind of goes, oh, how have I actually been treating somebody who could actually be on my side in a world where there's not a lot of people on these women's side.
Is Prudence the oldest?
Mm-hmm.
She reminds me a lot of Nesta, which I know is a very reference that only Wiggles is going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I want to like her character, but also they haven't given me enough redemption to like her character.
Also, something I want to talk about with regards to Philippa is she had her glow up this season too.
Yeah,
she looked hot in some of her like softer looks.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out if you don't put her in these like stupid like Lady Featherington-esque costumes, she's actually really hot.
Well, I never thought either of them were unattractive. They're both absolutely beautiful women. It was just like, oh, Philippa.
Yeah.
I do enjoy Philippa because every time she's on the screen, she just says the most fucking ridiculous stuff.
Release the bugs.
I just love that Prudence is like, butterflies. Okay.
You're a genius.
This is great. I was terrified.
Yeah, I love that. You're a genius. I know.
Oh God.
Hey, Philippa.
Although not actually a genius move. All those butterflies are gonna die in that room, probably starting about an hour after they were released.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But also, this is such a random fucking thing, but since we're talking about the balls, and just like, yes, and all of the society events, what the fuck was that game of charades? That is no game of charades.
I was very confused by it as well. I was trying to figure out what they like. I understood it after I watched a couple, but I was like, how is this charades?
It's riddles. And then also they're from a book. So what does it have to do with the person reading it?
I don't know. Maybe it's about the one that you pick. All I know is Anthony was on another level.
I actually appreciated that. Like, from an acting perspective, I was like, good job. Nice committing.
He's very aggressive in it, and same thing with the it's not, I don't remember what they called it. It's not croquet, but whatever that game that they played in the second season. Pall Mall. I think he's just hyper aggressive when it comes to games.
I mean,
he is an oldest son.
Yeah.
So
he is very competitive, but like you know it's bad when like the rest of the room is like, bruh. But also, I did really enjoy what we did get of Anthony this season. Like, as much as we did get some filler things where I was like, I just couldn't care less.
Yeah.
He was hilarious. Like, all season, he was like, I want to tell everyone we're pregnant. And, like, just in general was, like, super excited. But my favorite part was when they're like giving Colin advice before the wedding, and Kate is like, you know, we didn't like start out here, like our marriage took a lot of work, and no marriage is perfect. He's like, not our marriage is perfect.
Yes.
And he's like really upset, like he's like giving her the look that we are going to talk about this when we get in the carriage.
I did like, though, the one thing I really liked about Kate is she took on this really cool maternal big sister role with the Bridgerton siblings. When she was talking to Eloise and trying to like talk to her about her relationship with like Penelope and such, and then also talking to Colin, she just kind of like slid right into that big sister role super easy. I mean, which makes sense. She's been taking care of Edwina for forever, but
there's a moment with Antony that makes me laugh because it's not said, but it's in his eyes. And she's like, we can't. Newton's watching. And he's just like, he just glares at him like, you fuckface, get out of here.
Yeah. I also like that all the other Bridgerton like siblings seem to really love Kate. So like that same scene where they're talking to Colin about his upcoming marriage, and Colin runs in and sees him and is like, oh my God, Kate. And Antony's like, am I chopped liver?
What the fuck?
I'm literally right here. Yes. I also just like that. I feel like if they had let Kate and Anthony just like be amongst everything else.
Yes.
I don't know why they needed to be so isolated. But I feel like you would also have these really great moments with them in general, like milling about at the balls and things like that. But instead, a lot of times what we got was like them glued together. And like, I get it. Yes, they want to be near each other. But also, I think it would be great. I think it would be great for Kate if she was now like, hey, remember when y'all were like, I don't want to talk to that bitch?
Guess what? I'm the Viscountess now, and
I'm a fucking
rich.
Viscountess, bitch. But we didn't get to have much of that. It was just she's there.
I wanted more of like Kate the Viscountess.
Yeah, I wanted Kate and Penelope to have like a vengeance team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, they were like, guess what, bitch? Wallflowers attack.
I did love there's a moment where she's talking with Eloise, and then they got done with the serious part of their conversation, and she had been preparing for, I think, a ball or something.
It was the engagement party, I believe.
Okay, yeah. And she was like, well, when she had been giving instructions, she was like, and cinnamon buns, they're Gregory's favorite. And then they finished this serious conversation that they had, and then Eloise goes, and Gregory hates cinnamon buns because Benedict bet him to do something. And she's like, thank you for that. I will get that fixed.
Yeah.
I did really like that Gregory and Hyacinth had a bigger role to play this season.
Yes.
They just were more interesting as characters and not just like, let's bring the kids out.
I think it's going to be super weird when it's their seasons.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to like...
There's a part of me that really hopes that they do what they did with Francesca and just recast them. Like, not for those actors. Like, I think they would do great, but I'm just like, I need a disconnect from your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how old those actors are now, but they're definitely older than the characters they're portraying.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's sort of the problem that they've created by saying like, oh, this is happening one season right after another. Like, that's not what happens in the books. And so because of that, you have some people who are playing characters that are too old to be playing, and you have some people who are playing characters that are too young to be playing. And it's like,
I wonder what they're going to do next season, though, because it feels like they've definitely hinted that next season is Benedict's. Because
they didn't introduce us to the Lady in Silver.
Yeah.
As far as I could tell. I went back and I rewatched like the like end, and I couldn't see anybody.
But they did definitely say that the masquerade ball is happening soon. And Francesca's supposed to be married for, I think, 2 years before the big tragedy.
Well, and so it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, if the masquerade ball is going to happen, are you going to do it at the top of Benedict's season and then have a time jump?
I don't know. I haven't read that book. I've heard people say that book's not good.
That really bums me out.
Well, the Benedict of the TV show is not the Benedict of the books.
No, the Benedict in the books, at least from the 3 that I've read so far, is kind of like background character at best.
Yeah.
Like he's not somebody who's off having adventures and by time. And Yeah.
I loved Benedict and Eloise's return to the swings.
Yeah.
Because that was one of my favorite, like, side character moments in the first season, is when she's out there smoking because, you know, she's a teenage girl and shit happens. And he walks up to her and he's like, Eloise Bridgerton. She's like, go on then, chastise me. And then he's like, no, just give me one. And I like it's middle child situation where they're having a conversation.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like the way that they write Benedict, and obviously I haven't read his book, but the way that they write him is not the second son. Like he says a lot of things like, oh, I'm the second son, so I'm out here, you know, screwing around or whatever. And then he has to cover the finances while Antony is gone, which they only mentioned like once. And I'm like, that's kind of a big fucking deal. But sometimes I just feel like they don't write him as like the next in line.
They give him these moments and then immediately undercut them. So like in the first season, he's Anthony's second at the duel.
Right.
And he like immediately sobers up and is like, I guess this is what I'm going to fucking do. Holy shit, I might have to be in charge of everything. Holy shit, my brother could die. Holy shit, my brother could kill this man.
Yeah.
Holy shit, right? And then immediately make him like goof off and go to this big sex party.
Yeah.
Right? And then they do it in season 2 as well, because they have that moment where Benedict catches Anthony right after he saved Kate and has like a moment where he's like trying to bring him back down into reality, and then he goes off and does Benedict shit.
On the note of Benedict shit, what happened to his fucking art pursuit?
Yeah, they're just like, oh, well, now that it's been tainted, I guess I can't pursue it anymore.
Yeah, that seems like what it is. And I'm like, I don't like that.
No.
Anthony had the best intentions. On it. Like he wanted to help him pursue it. I realize that you are upset because you did not get in the way that you thought you did, but
you're still in.
Yeah,
right.
You're still in.
And also you were kind of with that hot chick.
He's always kind of with that hot chick tholl.
And sometimes that
hot
man.
dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going for the rhyme.
I liked yours were better. I suppose we're talking about it. Can we just talk about the fact that they finally gave us Bye Benedict?
There's a part of me that's a little bit disappointed that it wasn't Lord Granville, that they didn't bring him back around.
Yeah.
That's fair. They're not really good at bringing people back around.
I know, right? It's like they'll just decide that some people no longer exist in that world.
Like fucking Daphne. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
That one bothers me.
Yes.
You cannot tell me that she would not be at 2 of her sibling weddings.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I liked the way that they handled that, the way that they led Benedict into it, that it wasn't just like, well, I guess he's just gonna have sex with a guy now because that's what the people want. You know what I mean?
Well, they built it up, right? So the whole Lord Granville thing existed. So it's not like he is entirely unaware of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's been like sort of knocking around in the back of his head for a while. Like, I wonder what the appeal is that makes that risk worth it.
Well,
right?
And also in the moment where it came, he panicked a little bit and left. He had to go and think about things. And then when she came back and left him a letter to be like, hey, can we chat?
And then I think her chat was really well done. I liked the conversation of there are so many people in the world. And to say that you can only love this small group of people. And there are so many crazy things in the world, but who you love and who you want to show affection towards is the most natural thing. I
actually really loved all of their conversations, because when she has the conversation with him after they've been, you know, having the threesomes for a while and everything, and she's like, here's the thing, I think I like you and would like to start something with you. And I liked the conversation of, here's the thing, I'm not ready for that. I'm not there. And it was a very intelligent conversation. It was a very realistic conversation in regards of you have been doing a certain thing with these two people and they want to change the dynamic, and you maybe not being in the correct headspace for that.
Well, and then when she does say, you know, merriment eventually also gets boring or whatever she says, and it felt nice to feel like I want to commit to somebody again. Which makes me think, what is Benedict's season's going to be like? Because if he breaks things off with Tilly because he wants to explore this new side of himself, which makes sense, what's going to happen in the season where he's supposed to like fall in love and get married?
Well, that's what makes me think it can't possibly be Benedict's season, or they've planned poorly because they've set him up to want to go and explore.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to believe that literally right after he's made this like realization and declaration that he suddenly is going to be like, I saw somebody out of the corner of my eye and I'm in love with them forever. That doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
Well, so it could be Francesca's season next if we do a time jump, because Michaela is there, or they just say fuck the time jump and it happens right away. But it could also be Eloise's, because Eloise is leaving.
Well, and she has started to have the thought expressed out loud that everybody's pairing up, which is kind of a catalyst from what I understand about her book is that, and the one point of friction is in Penelope's book, she does not want to be left behind as Penelope pairs off as well.
The other kind of hints that make me think it might be Eloise's are when she's talking to Kate and she's saying that, and Kate's saying like she would rather be out horseback riding or whatever, and Eloise is saying like, yes, I would also like to be out horseback riding, but not horses because I don't want to be outside, which hints to me just a tiny bit of the relationship she's going to have with her plant boy. But then also when Kate and Antony are talking about the letter from Edwina, and that Edwina has married somebody who actually makes her want to like go outside and do things. So they're either being very subtle or I'm just hoping for things, one of the two.
I'm thinking maybe it's gonna be Eloise.
The one thing I will say that I think that they fucked up on is, in order for us to give a shit that Marina, I don't know why I always want to call her Marina has passed, you've set up this relationship with her and Sir Philip.
Yeah.
Is you have to like keep her relevant, and they did that with the second season, and I don't know if there was a scheduling conflict or something, or if they just were too fucking lazy and too cheap to, because that's I think the case. They were like, let's do Bridgerton on a budget,
which I don't understand. The whole thing that we love about it is it's this like all-in thing,
right? And so why would you not bring her back this season? First of all the people that Penelope apologized to doesn't fucking matter. The person she needs to directly have a conversation with is Marina.
Yeah.
Full stop. And like, I'm sorry, but you gotta keep bringing her back for us to care when she dies.
Well, and the other thing is it's heavily implied in season 2 that Marina fully well knew that Penelope was whistled down.
Yeah.
She knew.
And protected her secret.
Yep.
So, and you might make the argument that no one would have believed her if she revealed it, but still, she didn't do a damn thing about it.
Well, and it's one thing if like you thought she'd be like, oh, I'll bring it to the queen. Yeah, the queen may not have believed her. She could have brought it to Colin, and Colin may have believed her.
Well, and even if Marina did not believe that was actually whistled down, she definitely believed that Penelope revealed her secret.
Yes. And yet in season 2, she still hinted to Colin about Penelope, like
being
loving him. Yeah.
Because she's had time to grow up.
Yeah.
And has, have these kids is in this marriage that's
it's a
dry.
Marriage of convenience.
Yeah.
She doesn't dislike him.
No, but it's definitely not love.
No.
Which I'm sure would be super hard for her because Marina did love his brother.
But yes, I think she grew up. She also, I think, looked at it from the thought process of, okay, well, if Penelope is really good friends with Colin, if Penelope loves Colin, I completely understand why she would have done this.
Right.
And so they should have brought her back because I think it was heavily implied that she was well aware that Penelope was whistled down.
The only thing I can think is that in some subsequent season, they're going to have a scene with Colin and Penelope, or even just Penelope going, I need to go apologize or talk to her. And in the process of that, she finds out that Marina's passed. And that's how we as an audience are introduced that she's passed away.
I mean, fine. We still needed her this season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, yeah. Because here's the thing. I don't care about Colin being mad on her behalf. I wasn't invested in that at all. Like, I was just like, yeah, sure, be mad about it. I am invested in Penelope making up for something that she did to somebody that she cared about.
Also, one of the big things that Penelope talked about to Eloise, that her reasoning for wanting to continue to write as Whistledown was to start to give a voice to the voiceless. And yet we never really saw that.
Yeah.
No, had the voiceover for one last Whistledown thing, you know?
Right.
I mean?
And it wasn't even like she really gave a lot of voice to the voiceless. Okay, like she did talk about the cruelties of one husband to one wife, and that another person let their maid go, but it felt disingenuous. Like, I'm gonna make sure that all of these like bad things that are happening that people can't talk about are being told, and then we get like nothing.
And it also implied that she hadn't been doing that to a certain extent all along, and that's counter to what we've seen throughout the show. Like, she reports on Nigel Burbrick and all of his nastiness, right? And
although I will say, book versus movie on that one, Nigel wasn't as big a dick in the books as he is in the movie. Yes, he kind of slightly attacked Daphne when he was drunk, but he didn't like keep coming back the way he does in the show.
Well, in the book, he gets married to Philippa, not our sweet boy.
I like
Finch.
Mr.
Finch. Finch, yeah.
Oh yeah, Finch is Philippa's. Yeah, Dankworth is Dankworth, whatever is.
Yeah. So yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, is the implication that she has never written anything that helped somebody is. I don't like that at all, because it's not true.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't write with the intention of that, but I just don't think that that's the case, because she's also chosen to leave things out intentionally that she knows, right? And we know that because she has in season 2, we have this whole moment where she's talking to Eloise and she's like, did you notice this? Did you notice that? And none of that is in her Whistledown, right? She's like, I just know these things and it's good gossip, but she would also never put it in Whistledown. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't, it didn't sit right. I think if they had established her stepping in different places and saying, no, I don't think this should be this way, but I don't know. I think she could have just said, this is mine, I created it, and I don't want to give it up. I think what bums me out / concerns me is like, I don't know that I'm going to want to go back to this season the way I want to go back to the other seasons.
I agree.
Same.
I think I would probably like to watch this season as one go, because I haven't done that yet.
Same.
But just from the way we've talked about it, I don't think it's going to change my opinion. It's not like I missed anything by having the break in between part 1 and part 2, because they were written to be so separate.
Mm-hmm. I think when I look at the show, it's one thing to say, like, with Kate and Anthony, we didn't get as much spice. We had like one spicy scene, whatever. And so there was a lot of complaint about that, and so they had to make up for it and put them in more in season 3. But how do you make up for just not having the main couple present for half the season?
I don't know, because if you look back at season 1, it's all Simon and Daphne.
Yes.
Yeah, there are other things happening, but it's Simon and Daphne. I don't know why everybody loves that line of "I burn for you." I think it's the cheesiest, dumbest line.
I smoldered so hard when he said it. I was like, yeah.
I don't like that line, but that's just a personal thing.
Okay. Okay, Liz. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish that I didn't feel this way after waiting and anticipating for as long as we did. And now these motherfuckers make the announcement that it's going to be 2 years for another 8 episodes.
2 years?
2 years!
Well, they better fucking fix all the complaints we have.
Well, here's my thing. And I think I speak for a lot.
You speak for the people.
I speak for the people. I'm a woman of the people.
Are you like the Lorax? You speak for the trees?
Except for I speak for the smutty girls.
I vote for you as representation.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you are going to spend 2 years, you better not show up with 8 fucking episodes. Need I remind you that Game of Thrones, which had just as much of a historical period factor in everything that they were doing, was pumping those seasons out 1 year after another. There's no excuse for you to be like, it's going to take 2 years if you churn out something like this.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good comparison, because if you think about the amount of like battle scenes and large castle scenes and fucking dragons,
the fucking White Walkers,
the amount of post editing that had to happen, and they still came out with it 1 year after the other,
and also grandiose locations.
Yes,
because Bridgerton takes place in, essentially the same 5 places. And Game of Thrones had so many huge, grandiose locations.
I didn't even think about the fact that the big thing that was missing from this season is the fact that they tried to cut corners until you said it, and now I'm pissed.
Right?
I'm pissed.
Well, not just that they cut corners, but they actually cut the content that they fucking made. You don't have to limit it to 8 episodes.
No.
Do 9. I don't give a shit. In fact, I would love it. I'd be like, oh my God, we got an extra episode, right? Like, your fans are going to be pissed that you gave them more of what they wanted. What the fuck is going on over there? Who do I have to talk to?
Especially if you've already filmed it. Like, I understand editing is also expensive. Like, I'm not saying that isn't expensive.
It is, and it's time consuming.
But how are you going to sit here and be like, oh, this is going to, at some point, outgross fucking Stranger Things and become the biggest show on Netflix, and be like, well, we got to do it on a budget. What the fuck?
And you know what? I'm sorry. There's going to be there's going to be overlap for people that like Bridgerton and Stranger Things, but there's also probably not in a certain degree as well.
Well, I mean, there is in me as a human being, but
but there's also going to be people that watch Stranger Things that have absolutely no thought process or want to watch Bridgerton, and vice versa.
Right. So, like, you already got the money, bitch. Just give us the goods.
Do it.
And, okay. Also, when I said that they cut corners, they just cut so many dumb corners. I should not, as much as I'm willing to expand my disbelief to accept the world that you're creating, which is outside of history but within it, I should not see fucking zippers on those costumes. Are you kidding me?
Of course you saw the fucking zippers. Of course your fucking eyes were like, where are the fucking zippers, motherfucker?
I wasn't searching them out. I wasn't sitting here going, I gotta find them. I gotta get them. I'm gonna get them. I was like, is that a goddamn zipper? God damn it.
The other thing that I was super underwhelmed by was the ballroom scenes. They seemed like they were so much smaller, especially when you think of like the first season where they were huge and there were people everywhere and there's all this stuff.
Were fucking fireworks.
Yeah. And then the Mondrich's ball, I'm like,
that was their big moment?
I'm like, that's only fucking 5 couples can dance on that dance floor.
Yes.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
All I could think of with Penelope's sister's ball is that the columns in the middle seem problematic for dancing.
Wow.
Well,
it was gorgeous, and I was really excited for them because they were so happy. But I was like, those are going to be so in the way.
You know what I think was the dumbest part of this season overall? Was the fucking balloon. Why was so much time spent on that?
Yeah.
It was a little weird. I was like, you put it on our TikTok, and we talked about it last time. I very much got the like scene from Austin Powers of the no, and it's so far away.
I mean, that, but also just like when I look at the season like as a collective whole, that was like a whole episode.
Yeah.
Just for that fucking balloon, and I was just like, but why? Like now that I'm like looking at the big picture, I'm like, that had nothing to do with fucking anything except for a weird excuse for Devlin to not really save Penelope because she was fine. We got that cool little slide, but like it didn't matter at all.
I did like the slide, but it didn't matter at all. And what was he gonna do?
Right? Like he could have like stopped her from tripping off of the side. Like
He could have grabbed her hand and hauled her out of the way. Like, what was he gonna do?
And I could understand a fuck up from anybody else in the Ton because, like, how often do they have to save people? They don't know what to do. They're just dumb. But Lord Devlin goes on these fucking expeditions.
Yeah.
He should have some sort of survival instinct. That motherfucker should have known better and, like, grabbed her and moved, not tried to hide her.
Yeah, that was weird. And like, here's the other thing that made me really bummed that he had to fuck off after the first half of the season. It's like, he was cute.
He was so fucking
so
cute. I was like, I'm married that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I am super mad that he didn't end up with Cressida. I was like, I just really wanted her to not have like the happily ever after, because it wouldn't have been a love match. But like I really wanted her to end up with some semblance of peace.
And that's, to me, that's just a continuity error, in my opinion. We've already talked about it, so there's no reason to rehash it, but it's straight up a continuity plot error.
Yeah.
It's a huge plot hole.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. My final takeaway, if you will, is why? And do better.
Fair enough.
And don't break it up into two pieces, because you didn't do it right.
They're
Yeah.
for sure going to do that again.
Oh, I know.
Oh, of course they are. They want that money.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I know that I will probably watch Bridgerton when it finally comes out. Unless like 2 years from now, I don't give a fuck. 2 years is a long time.
It is.
So let's go into...
Ratings time.
You didn't dab.
Ratings time.
Thank you.
I love that you made her do that, and nobody can see her but us.
Look, we do this podcast for ourselves.
It's true.
What are y'all's spice rating?
It's okay.
What we got was good.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't.
It just was so little. Like,
So
I mean,
little.
okay, no, because it was a longer scene.
It was
sure.
more than season 2.
And we got, honestly, more sexy time from Kate and Anthony than we got from a lot of their season.
True, but to be fair, in season 2, the smolder, man.
Literally.
The tension, the build-up.
I could have lived on just them breathing, honestly. And that's the thing. Like, this season did not have that at all.
No. It was, I don't know, like, I feel like I have to give it a 3 just because of, like, the level of
Yeah, the level
action
of,
that did happen.
and what we got was real good.
Mm-hmm.
I
go
agree with 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Consensus 3.
Romance. This one's hard because it is the entire season. So it's not just Colin and Penelope. It's also Francesca and John. It's even Violet and Marcus.
Yeah.
Hell, it's even fucking Philippa and Prudence and their husbands.
And Kate and Anthony.
And Kate and Anthony.
I'm gonna.
Hell, it's Benedict and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Benedict
Tilly and
by
then
Awakening.
whatever that other guy
I
was.
don't know why I can't think of his name, but
He was just there to be hot. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
and I love him for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a 3.5 because it all encompasses, and like I do like Penelope and Colin, but I love Francesca and John.
I do too. I was also thinking like a 3.5. I want to give it a 4, but I just can't. I just can't.
I mean, I think if I average them all out or get the median, if
Yeah.
you will, I think 3.5 is right.
Sure.
Because also there were some weak spots, you know?
There's some
but
opportunities.
there were opportunities for growth. Netflix. But there were some strong points.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Overall rating.
Fuck.
I feel like just a solid 3.
That's what I was thinking too. It was definitely a letdown from previous seasons.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I disliked it.
well,
Just
there's a big gap between dislike and like.
yeah. It was just a little more womp wompy than the
Yeah.
last couple.
I did really enjoy watching it, but I feel like most of that was anticipation of it. Like, okay, now this episode's going to be the good one.
Right.
Now this episode's going to be the good one, and it never really got there.
I mean, I definitely squealed at the point where they did the carriage scene.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and you don't want your big moment that you remember to be the one that's halfway through.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, a weak sauce 3
Okay.
is where I'm gonna land.
Do we want to do recommendations?
I don't think so, because we've done so many Bridgertons so far. I don't think it's...
Do you have anything?
I mean, I have things I could recommend, but like at this point, check things out. There are good things out there that aren't Bridgerton.
Yeah.
And we're all gonna come down from this Bridgerton hangover soon, and then we'll find something else to obsess over.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So I think we've given quite a few recommendations for Bridgerton shows and books, and pick one of those.
Yep.
Okay. Well, folks, if you like this episode, please find us out there on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets. We're most active on TikTok and Instagram. And you can find us on our website at wrongdustjackets.com. You can check out our blog post for reviews of books and such that don't make it into the podcast. And we would just love it so very gosh darn much if you were to give us 5 stars on whatever listening app you're listening on to. Give us a comment, drop a like, whatever. We would love to hear from you. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.